Hi everyone, Sandy here. Going to show you what I'm going to be working on next. I had a couple of my YouTube followers mention that they'd like to learn how to make a book box similar to the Graphic 45 that used to be sold by Graphic 45. So this is the box. It would open up like that. Really nice sturdy box, but they've discontinued it. And they're great for projects. Making different albums. You could cut the sides and do different things with it. I loved it. This is the last one that I have from when I was a brand ambassador for Graphic 45. So I'm going to do, I guess, a craft hack and make one out of black artisan cardstock. So I have my cardstock cut. You're going to need 4 sheets of the 12 by 12. I have my heavyweight chipboard cut. You're going to need 2 of the 12 by 12, and then I have a collection of the music box from Country Craft Creations. This is an exclusive paper collection available from them. I think it'd be beautiful. The box would be done beautiful in this paper. So I want to go over the paper with you really quick because I haven't shared it in detail yet with you here on my channel in case you haven't seen it. And you can go over to Country Craft Creations and order it. And check it out there. I'll put the link down below in my description. So this is the cover sheet. This is the 12 by 12. It does come in an 8 by 8. Always save these cover sheets from the Country Craft Creations paper collections because it's the same paper, the Bristol cotton vellum, that you can use these to make little tags, and you can use these for mini cut-aparts for cards or on your mini albums. So what comes with this collection is you get a full sheet of the tags and cut-aparts that you can fussy cut out or use on your scan and cut. But then you also get a pack of the same ones pre-cut for you, which is great to do a quick project. This is the back side of the one that you get. You'll get more of this on another pattern here in the collection. So here on the front is your 4 by 6 and your 3 by 4s and some borders. These are beautiful. You get 2 of this sheet, and then on the back you get the green music sheet. Here you get this image here. I believe that's a clarinet. I did not take band. I actually played basketball. I didn't take band, so some of these instruments I may get wrong. Please forgive me if I do. But on the back side of this is more of the beautiful roses and the music notes. Then we have this sheet music with the roses. I love this one. And on the back side we have the beautiful green like that. Then we have the harp with roses. And flip that over and we have more of just the roses. Then we have the little music box with the ballerina in it. Let me tilt that from the light so you can see it. And on the back side of that we have the music notes, and this is the one I was telling you get more of, that's on the back of your 4 by 6 or your tags. Then we get the I think this is the saxophone, I hope. Piano, keyboards, of course I know that. And we have roses and more of the music notes, and on the back side we have more, the same image but without the instruments. Then we get the larger size of the music box with the ballerina. This is so pretty with the pink stripe, and on the back side you get your pink stripe. I can see that box maybe being done in that. And then we have the baby grand piano and the French horn. Now I know that's the French horn because my daughter actually played that in band. And the beautiful green on the back with the roses. And then we have the violin with the roses on the sheets of music, and the back side is just sheets of music. So it's a beautiful, beautiful collection, and I hope you'll check it out at countrycraftcreations.com. If you haven't already, it's been out for a little bit. Some other designers have already used the projects, and there's lots of wonderful ideas that you can check out online on YouTube from the Country Craft Creation designers. So here, let's get started on the box. I have already pre-cut all mine. I'm going to set this aside. I've cut pretty close to what this size is. to make this. I'm going to do it in the lay flat album wrap method of creating a box. So first up in the heavyweight chipboard, you're going to want to cut 2 7x5s, 1 7 by 2.5, 2 6.5 by 2 1/4, 2 4.5 by 2 1/4. That's going to make the box from your cardstock, and I chose to use the black artisan because I think they'll look really good with the music box paper. So you want to cut 2 that are 9x7s, 1 9 by 5.5, 2 8.5 by 4 1/4, 2 6.5 by 4 1/4, 1 9.5 by 6 7/8, 1 3 by 6 7/8, and then 1 6.5 by 4 1/4. And all this will make sense as we start assembling it. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to build this book box, putting it together similar to making a lay flat album. So our first 2 big pieces of chipboard, we have our 9x7 cardstock and our 7x5 pieces. Let's grab our 2 1-inch spacers. If you don't have these in the acrylic like this, these are, you can order from countrycraftcreations.com, and mine of course have glue all over them. I have glue all over everything. Anyway, you can tell it's mine by my fingerprints in the glue. You can order these from countrycraftcreations.com. If you don't have them right now, you can cut 2 out of scraps of chipboard. You'll want 2 that are 12 inches by 1 inches wide. And so I put my cardstock in, my 9x7, and I'm going to take one of my 7x5s, and I'm going to glue that down onto the cardstock. And we're getting them ready to wrap just like we would the covers of an album. And butt those in right up to the spacers. What this does is give me a 1-inch border of cardstock all the way around my chipboard, and gives me a much nicer piece to wrap. So then I'll take my bone folder and burnish that. Go ahead and do your second one the same way. So our next piece to wrap would be like if it was the spine of the album. So we put in our 9 by 5.5 piece, and I'm going to use 1 1-inch spacer at the top and a 1.5 inch spacer here on the side. And I take my 7 by 2.5 inch chipboard and put glue on it. We're going to glue this down. So this is similar to making an album cover. And let me just show you just a second after we get this down what I'm talking about on the original Graphic 45 book box. Okay. Turn this over and burnish. So we have these 3 pieces done. This is going to be technically what's the cover of the book box. Let me set this aside. Grab the book box, the original. So you see this, these 2 pieces are the same, and this would be the spine. So that would be like your album cover with the wide spine, and instead of album pages inside, we're going to have a box. Okay, so let's go ahead and move the scoreboard, and let's put these together first. So let's wrap these, and I'm going to grab my mat because I'm going to miter the corners first, and grab my cutting knife and my mitering tool. So what I use is a metal book binding tool that I got from Etsy, and because I like to do the angles, so I just lay it down on my mat and cut those angles off, and it gives me the perfect amount and really straight across. I have one that's shorter But for these wider cardstock sections, I saw this one and decided that this would work a lot better for me. So it's kind of like a metal ruler with a notch cut out, and you just fit it up against your chipboard, and then you cut all 4 corners real quick. Now, if you like the method of cutting out your squares where you fold all your edges of your cardstock, which marks the squares, and you cut those out, that works perfectly fine too. It's whatever method you like to use for wrapping your covers or mitering the corners here. Let me turn it. It's easier for me to use the knife if I turn it. Okay. And I'm sure if you do a search for metal bookbinding tools, you can easily find that. Okay. They are not sold at Country Craft Creations, so I am not promoting that. It's just this is a tool that I have that I like to use. So I've got these 2 wrapped. Next, we're going to take what would be the spine section. Well, no, I don't have these wrapped. What am I saying? First, let's bend the cardstock. We do have to wrap them. I have them angled, but I don't have them wrapped yet. So I'm just going to do one. And I burnish this. Fold and burnish so I can get a good fold here on all 4 sides. Even score here along the chipboard. And then I like to take a little bit of score tape just to help hold things down. Put one in the center of each piece of the cardstock. It's going to be wrapped over. I'm going to burnish those so they're easy to pull off. And then I'm going to work with the long sides first. So I'm going to take those tapes off and go ahead and take them all off. Well, I've got my pokey tool here. Okay. So take your glue and run a line of glue along the edge of the chipboard on the cardstock, and then put the glue on the rest of it. And I don't put glue over the score tape because I have seen that loosens up the tape, and I want to go ahead and use the tape because it is a good adhesive. And if you prefer to use tape completely to wrap your edges, well, that's fine. Turn this around, do the same thing over here. And you see the score tape, it just helps hold that down while you're burnishing the glue. Okay, now, where this comes over and extends beyond, where this piece extends beyond the chipboard, if you folded it over, you wouldn't have a very nice finished corner. So you need to take your bone folder, your fingernail, and you press and burnish that overhang into the other side. It's kind of like a rounded, press down and bring it in just like that. Let me show you. So you see how I've got them pushed in. So now when I put my glue on and attach this cardstock down, and again you put the glue along the edge, just bring it over, and you're going to have a much nicer mitered corner here. It's kind of got a little bit of hang there, but I think it's going to work. Let me snip that off just a tiny bit. I'm just getting that one in really good. I'm just going to cut that off a little bit and then burnish that down. Just straightening that up just a tiny bit. Okay, so the other side, make sure it's pushed in good, and then go ahead and put your glue on. Bring this over and burnish down. Okay, so we have one side wrapped, and I'm going to go ahead and do the other one off camera, and then we'll make the little spine section. Next, we're taking the spine piece, and we're going to fold up all the edges on it. I'm going to go ahead and burnish them down. Do a little bit of scoring here to kind of get them to start being used to being bent. Both sides. Go ahead and burnish that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is wrap each end. Okay, so I'm going to take my glue, and I'm going to put glue along the chipboard edge, and then about an inch on each side here, and then all of the flap area. Bend that over, and again, if you wanted to use score tape, you could. And then I'm going to burnish really well right up against the chipboard. I want to get a nice groove. I almost want to make cardstock become one with the chipboard. Just really burnish that in. I'm going to use a little sharper edge here on this bone folder to really get in there and burnish this, and you flatten down this area in here so that it's all nice and even. And then I'm going to do it the same on the other side. Glue along the top edge of the chipboard onto the cardstock, and then about an inch here where it wraps down, and then on all the flap. Bring that over, burnish it, really burnish it in up against that chipboard right there. I'll hold it up and show you just a second here. So you can see how well it's indented here. There's a ridge there, and that's what you want. You want a ridge on each side, and if you don't think you have enough, do it some more. Really work that. Now we're going to work this. We're going to run our bone folder up and down this chipboard, the whole length of it where we've already got the fold. I'm going to turn it over, and we're going to do it on this side, really getting us a nice indentation on this finished side. Okay, I'm even going to fold it backwards and burnish it. This is artisan cardstock. It can handle this amount of bending and folding, whereas other cardstocks probably cannot. Some of those might crack on you, and that's why I prefer to use artisan. So now I'm going to do this side one more time, and I really see that indentation there. Okay. So now we're ready to put our 2 cover pieces with this. Okay, in looking at my book box, this is a finished rounded corner here. So that's what I want on mine. So this is where we go a little different than what we normally would do if it were an album cover. So I flip this back over and I'm going to burnish on the inside again. So we're going to put this together, putting it from the inside. Normally when you do an album cover, you attach these to the outside like this and butt it up to the outside. But we're going to do this in the reverse because I want the rounded edge of the box on the outside. So I need a little bit of extra space than you normally get when you're using this method. So I'm taking the spacer. Now if you don't have these acrylic spacers, use a ruler or something to give you a little more space. See how I have about 1/8 of an inch at least, maybe just a little bit more than that. So I'm going to put this in flush up against tight against the chipboard of the what I call a spine section, and put glue down on the wing, a line of glue along the spacer, and then glue on the rest of the wing, the attachment wing. And then you're going to take your box lid or cover piece, and we're going to put the finished side down. So you want to see all unfinished facing up like this. Then go ahead and line it up at the top and the bottom up against the spacer. Make sure everything fits nicely in there. So you should have that space, and wipe off any glue in there and burnish down. And I'm going to go ahead and carefully turn it over and burnish. And then we'll go ahead and put the other side on the same way. So take that spacer, butt it up against the chipboard of the spine section, add your line of glue, and then glue on the wing. And put this, which probably would be the bottom of the box or the other cover piece, on the same way. Make sure you line it up top and bottom and push it up against the spacer, but you're going to have that space in there, a little extra space. It's not fitting flush up against the chipboard. You've got to have some space in there for it to bend properly. So go ahead and clean out any glue that you might have in that space with your bone folder, and then burnish that down. You also want to cut score tape to match the 2 pieces that are going to go on the inside of our box cover. So you need your cardstock. You need one that is 9.5 by 6 7/8, and score tape sheet to match, that is 9.5 by 6 7/8. And then you need a piece that's 3 inch by 6 7/8, and a score tape that matches at 3 inch and 6 7/8. So now we're going to put these together. Let me get my scoreboard here. Just make it a little bit easier to match it up. Now then, push this in and line this up, and pull your tape backing off. I'm just going to line this up here in the corner, and I never can get it perfect, ever, ever, but I got it pretty close, I think. Got a little bit off here on the side. I'm going to burnish it to make sure it's easy to peel off all the bubbles out of it. Turn this over, and now I'll take my craft knife and trim this up. I try by cutting it to size to make it a little easier to match up, but let me get my other knife. I always kind of get it off. But if I were cutting it out to fit with a knife, I think I'd probably make a worse mess. So it's not cutting very well. I know I turned it, nope. Started to say I'll turn it over, but no, I couldn't see what I'm doing then. If this doesn't get it, then I will get the scissors, but I think that's surely right there, not wanting to cut. Okay, there we go. I think my scissors off some. Put this away. And now we're ready to take our cover here, and we'll take this biggest piece, and that's going to fit right over this left section. Just back it off just a little bit from the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and peel all this off. And the reason you use score tape is so it doesn't buckle, because this is going to be bending. If you use glue, you might have some areas where you don't get it on really good, and it would buckle. So here on the edge where I've got just a little bit of adhesive sticking out, I'm just folding it under a little. It's not too bad. There we go. And then we're going to line this up. I'm going to double check. It's really sticky here. Make sure it's about a 1/16 of an inch from the bottom and from the outer edge. So just, I'm lining this one up really straight. And then I'm going to bring this on over. And then we burnish that down with my hands. I'm going to put the other piece on. I'm going to turn it around before I actually start burnishing and bending this. Let's take our backing off. Now this one I have it off quite a bit here on one side, so I'm going to have to put a little bit of glue. Because that edge right there will not catch. Now on the edge, glue on the edge is fine. I'd have to wipe some of it off, but there we go. I'm just going to spread it out some. Okay, and I'm going to look at this and curl back any glue that might, adhesive tape that might be sticking out. Okay, now this is going to line up here right with this one. Butt it up and press it down. Okay, so this is going to be hidden, this seam here underneath our box. But now we need to kind of burnish in where the fold lines are. Get that tape going down into the fold. Just kind of lift it up so you can see where it's at. And get that going. You want it to bend. Side two. This is going to come up. And it's just like an album cover, except a box is going to go here on this side. I'm going to put the box on the side that has the seam here. So that's going to be like that. So once the box is in, it's going to hold it up just like that. That's why it's called a book box, because it's made like a book. It's got a box inside. Okay, so now we're ready for the next part, the making of the box. So now we're ready to put our box section into our book. So we have our two 4.5 by 2 1/4 pieces and our two 6.5 by 2 1/4 chipboard pieces. We have two cardstock that are 8.5, 8.5 by 4 1/4, and two that are 6.5 by 4 1/4. Now these are going to be the sides of the box. These will be the ends. And I'm just deciding which ones I want completely wrapped and which ones are going to be the attachment. I think I'm going to wrap these completely. So take the biggest piece of your cardstock, your 8.5 by 4.5. Let's put this in here. We're going to put our spacers, our 1-inch ones, on. And we're going to put glue on our 6.5 by 2 1/4 piece of chipboard, so we can wrap this. So we're going to stick this down onto the cardstock here, put it up, turn it over and burnish. Let's do the other one the same way. And while these are drying, these two will go ahead and attach those to the cardstock as well. Flip it over, burnish, let those dry. Take your 6.5 by 4 1/4, same thing, the spacers. Then we take our chipboard pieces, there we go, your 4.5 by 2 1/4. We're going to glue those down. Set that aside to dry, and one last one. Glue this in, and we can put these away now. Flip it over, burnish, and let that dry. And put the spacer away. Okay, so let's grab these. We're going to miter the corners on this one. We're going to completely wrap, except for the bottom. We're not going to do the bottom. So we're just going to cut two corners off on the long side. Had to think there for a minute. Almost goofed up some. Heaven forbid. Don't want to goof up. And I'm cutting backwards here. This is not my normal. Should have turned that around. See, I can't cut going backwards. There we go. Okay, and the other one, pin went in the trash. That's how I lost a pair of my little scissors. Forgot to order some more. I'll be doing another order. Get me some scissors. Okay. Now I do have this pair here. I had a white one. I always like to have more than one pair of scissors. And my white ones fell in the trash, I guess, and went bye-bye. Okay, so we have that. So let's fold up our edges. And burnish it. Now on this, what we're going to do, we're going to wrap the two ends and the top, but leave the bottom one to attach into the book cover after we've assembled our box. So now what we need to do, where these two corners are, we're going to cut these corners out on the bottom, just the corners, the squares. So cut those out. And then we're going to fold, and we're going to do a little bit of mitering. You put your scissors up against the chipboard and just miter cut. Fold that side down and miter cut like that. Now this, we're going to go ahead, we're going to wrap. So I'm going to use a little score tape just to hold it down a little bit while I'm getting it stuck good. I'll put my glue on. Just take the backing off real quick. Maybe not so quick. I need my pokey tool. There we go. The glue, same as we did on the other, just along the edge. And then on the flap, but not on the score tape. Bring that over. Burnish that down. And then here in the corner, we're going to bring that in and miter it right here. And then we're going to put glue on these side flaps. We want these wrapped also. Oops, this needs to be brought in a little more here. There we go. A little tighter right there. We go. Okay. And this other side, make sure I'm getting it in tight enough. And that one needs trimmed. Just a little bit more mitering on that one. Okay. The glue. Okay, so there's that one piece. We're going to do the other one the exact same way. This might need a little more mitering here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do this one off camera. So I've got both of these wrapped. So these are the sides, or the long sides. Set these aside. Now we're going to work on this one. Don't know if I need that. So for this one, I'm only going to wrap the top edge because I need the side flaps to attach together and the bottom flap also. So I'm going to fold them all up though to get our corners. So I'm just going to kind of score and burnish these over. And fold it. All four sides, burnish it, fold and burnish it down so it gets a good crease. Now then, we don't have to miter it. We don't have to miter. I'm just going to take my glue and run it along the chipboard edge and put my glue here. And I'm also going to put some about an inch down the side, just like I did on the other piece before. And then we bend it over and burnish. And then we burnish really well and get this nice and flush in here. This flat in there like that. And then I'm going to cut out the corners here on the bottom. Now then, we're going to fold this side here, and we're going to miter this bottom flap. That's what's going to touch down, and this is going to come around. So let's also miter this one here. This one here needs varnish some more. Really flat in there. Okay. Now then, where this is going to come around, we might need to miter this through the double thickness just a little bit. Just like that. So that piece is ready. So go ahead and do the other one the same way. I'm going to do mine off camera and get them ready, and then we'll start putting this together. Okay, so we're ready to put these together. I am going to put a little bit of score tape on these end flaps of the short sides, and put it on the inside because I want the finished edge, a rounded corner, so I want my flaps to attach to the outside of the box. Okay, so go ahead and burnish these in. Okay, so remember the folded edge is the top and these flaps are the bottom. Okay, so I'll tape my backings off. And then I'm going to put glue along the edge and on the flap. Go ahead and do both sides here, both flaps. And then we're going to put these together really tight in the corner. Bring that flap around and burnish it down. This other long side, and I'm putting the flap on the top. I'm going to grab me a clip to clip this while I'm working on it. Put that in really tight, wrap it around, clip that, bring them in and clip it. Okay, so there's that one. Now we're ready for the other side. So the same thing on the other end piece. Take your tape backings off. Apply your glue. Oops. Onto the flap. Go ahead and do both of them. So you want to make sure it goes along the chipboard edge here. And then on the flap. Okay. And again, goes underneath these bottom flaps of the long one. Line up your corner really tight. Wrap that around. I'm just holding it with my hands, and I'm going to clip it and then do the same thing for this one. Bring it in really tight and clip. Okay, so there's the box shape. Now we have these bottom pieces here, and I'm going to go in and raise up the long ones and put some glue on the bottom side. And then square it up down here and burnish in here where where those flaps go. Just make sure your box is squared up. And we'll do the other side too. Okay. And burnish that in there. Make sure, whoops, make sure it looks square. If you have to move it some, then do that. And then reburnish it in there. Now then, the other piece of cardstock that we have, I'm going to dry fit. And that's what fits down inside there. So I'm just going to put glue on the top side for the 1-inch sections inside the box. Just like that. And then this piece is going to go in, fit down in there to finish this box off on the inside here. Now then, you probably want to reinforce it some, so we're going to make some little hinges, support hinges that are going to go on the inside, on the bottom and the inside corners. So I'm going to cut those and come back and give you those measurements. To make support hinges for the inside of the box, cut 4 that are 2 1/4 by 1 inch, 2 that are 6 1/2 by 1 inch, and 2 that are 4 1/4 by 1 inch. And you're going to score all of these on the 1 inch side at a 1/2 inch. So go ahead and do all that on all of them. The 1 inch side at the top, score each one at a 1/2 inch in the center. Next, take your foam folder and fold and burnish each one really well. Okay, so take the clips off. Let's take the little shorter ones. You're going to put glue on with the fold with the mountain going up. So this would be on the outside of the hinge on each 1/2 inch section. And then you're going to take this and put it in the corner of the box and burnish that in. You're going to do that on all 4 corners. That finishes it off in there and then also gives it more support. Okay, so wipe off any glue and go ahead and do that on all 4. Okay, now next we're going to put it in along the long sides. So I'm just going to dry fit to see if they need to be trimmed any. Works. Okay, same thing. These, you put your glue with the folders here. Put it on both sides on the outside. Putting the shorter ones in first, it doesn't really matter, but make sure that fold goes all the way into the seam of the box, and then burnish that in. Stuck down on both corners. And now the 2 long ones, same thing, glue on the outside so that you have the mountain of the fold that will go into the seam of the box on the inside. Make sure you push it all the way up, burnish it down. What that does is that finishes it all up on the inside, fills in if you have any gaps. You shouldn't have hardly any gaps if you put it together, if you pulled your side hinges tight enough. But just in case, this helps with that. Okay, here's the last one. Get it in. Burnish it down. Okay, so there's our box. Let's take our cover, take a look at it. This is the seam side here. So this is going to fit in right in here. So let me look at my graphic 45 one. So the inner edge of your box goes right up against the fold here. And then that's going to attach there. Okay, so you want to center it top to bottom. And then put glue on the base of this. Okay, so where the seam is, you're going to put it right along the edge of the fold. Make sure this comes up. This attaches down, and look at it and see if it's centered top to bottom. And then we'll drop this down, and we're going to burnish inside really well. So we have the lip here. We have it coming this way. And it's going to close up, hopefully. Make sure it's not too tight, too close on that edge. I'm going to move it over just a little bit before it dries. And that glue wants to grab really quick, but we still got just a few minutes. I'm scooting it over just a little bit. I'm leaving it about, even though they had theirs closer, about a 1/16 of an inch from the fold line. Make sure it's straight. Now I'm burnishing it again. Now then, this is going to have to be worked to make it fold the way we want it to. So I'm going to close it up. That looks good. And then I'm going to wrap a rubber band around it and let it sit overnight to train itself to stay closed. It almost stays closed, but it needs to have just a little bit more time to train, and I think then it will hold itself good. Okay, so that's it for now, and then I'll cut my pattern papers and get it all patterned. It's going to be really simple. You just cut the pattern papers to fit. I'll do mine 1/8 of an inch shorter in both directions, and so you go ahead and let this sit overnight wrapped up so that it stays tight, and then do your patterned papers, and then we'll finish decorating at the end. So at this point, after you have it assembled, then you're ready to put all your patterned paper on. I've pre-cut mine, went through the collection, pre-cut mine, and I'll give you the measurements of what I'm doing Now, you select the ones that you like for your project. If you're doing the music box, you have a lot to choose from. I'm going to, let me show you what I've got here. So I think I only used maybe 3 sheets of the paper. But I have here this green that I cut. And I'm thinking of putting that here on the top. In that measurement, you're going to need 3 of this size that are 4 7/8 tall by 6 7/8. I believe that's correct. You need one here, here, and then you're going to need one on the bottom. So I've chosen the green to go on the bottom and the top. And then on the inside, I'm going to do the pink. So you need one this same size in here. Everything is 1/8 of an inch smaller in your height and your width. So if you want to, measure yours, feel free to go ahead and do that. So pink is going to go in the inside, the spine sections, and then the green is going to go on the outside, spine and the back. And then here on the inside, I'm going to use the piano and the French horn because my daughter did play piano and French horn. Not a baby grand, but she did play piano. So I'm putting that in there. And then I'm going to line this inside with the back of one of the cut-aparts sheets because I really like the green with the music notes. So I'm going to be doing that on the inside of mine. And then I will have a little pink stripe here on the outside as well. Okay, so I'm going to give you the measurements real quick, but I'm not going to put my papers on camera because that just takes a lot of time. And you know how to glue and put things down. It's really simple. Any kind of closure or anything I will do after the fact, like a knob or whatever. But you're going to need you're going to need 3 that are 4 7/8 tall by 6 7/8 wide. So those are going to be for your lids and the bottom outside. Okay, so you need 3 of those. Then you're going to need 2 that are 2 3/8 tall by 6 7/8 wide, which is your spine here and here. So that's in and out on that. And then you need 1 that is 3/8 tall by 6 7/8 wide, and I call it the lip of the box. It's this wider lip out here that you can see when you're looking down on it. And then for the sides, you're going to need 2 that are, this is on the outside, 2 that are 2 1/8 tall by 6 1/2 wide right here, and then 2 that are 2 1/8 tall by 4 3/8 inches wide that goes on the end. So I will put all this with telling you what it is in the cut list. Then here inside the box, you're going to need 1 that is 6 3/8 wide by 4 1/4 tall. And then you need 2 that are 6 3/8 wide by 2 1/8 tall, and 2 that are 4 1/4 wide by 2 1/8 tall. That's what I cut for mine. So you may want to take a ruler and measure that. You may want more of a border, but I like the 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to decide, after I get it patterned, I'll come back and show you all of it patterned, and then I'll decide what I want to do for decorating. So I have my book box all patterned. I did take black distress ink and I inked all the edges of my papers before I glued them on. So I have this green piece here on the top. I have a green spine, the green bottom. On the inside sections of the box, I have the pink stripe. I did a pink stripe here on this wider piece that you can see here on the bottom that I call the lip. When you open it up, I have the pink stripe all the way through here. And then inside the box, I have the piano and the French horn, and then just the green music, sheet music floor print all on the inside there. So you can see that. So that is the project. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how I'm going to put this elastic closure on as part of the tutorial, and then I will decorate mine off camera. The things that I have to decorate with are these Prima flowers that I got in my February design team package. Of course, I won't use them all, I don't think. This one is, can't see the name on it. Oh, there it is. Farm Sweet Farm. And this is also from the Farm Sweet Farm. So there are two different numbers, 658-335 and 638-366. I'll link those in the description below. I've shared them on a design team haul package video. Of course, I have the cut aparts that come with the collection. I have a antique gold type eyelet I'm going to use. I pulled this from my stash. It was more of an orangey color rose, and I painted it with my Copic markers to make it a little closer to that. I don't know if I'll use this as a stick pin. I've had it in my stash for a long time. This also came from my February design team package, and I'm thinking I may use the one that says notes included here on the top. We'll see on that. So first, let me move some of these out of the way. I picked the ones that I thought I might use. I'm going to set them aside here on the top, and then I'm going to look at my 4x6s as well and decide on that. And of course, I will share the finished project with you. For this, you're going to need your crocodile, and you're going to use your biggest hole punch. And you're going to open your lid, and I'm going to put this, I'm going to eyeball it and center it here and punch all the way through. It's about, what, 3/4 of an inch from the edge? No, it's not that far. 3/8 from the edge. Then I'm going to drop my eyelet in, finished side here on the top. And then I'm going to set that with the center part of this crocodile. And finish that where it crimps it. So see, it's finished. Now then, this is a Tim Holtz elastic. You could use any kind of sewing elastic you have. You just put knots on the end if you wanted to. I'm going to go from the inside. You can't go with this metal piece because it's too big. So I'm going to try to thread just my elastic through, and I may have to use my pokey tool to get it going through there. There we go. Ah, that was easier than I thought. Okay, so now you pull it, and you pull it through, that locks it in. Okay, and now the elastic is on the box, and when I want to keep it closed, I'll just wrap it around, straighten it out, and it is closed. So now I am ready to start decorating. So I'm going to do that off camera, and that is the tutorial for how to make do a hack and make a craft hack and make your own graphic 45 book box. As you can see, the sizes of them are pretty much the same. So there you go. That's how to make a book box. You can decorate it. You can add a little album inside, just little trinkets, whatever you want to add to the inside of your box. And so here is my finished and decorated book box that I designed using the original Graphic 45 book box as my example. This one is a pre-made box, so then I made this one. It turned out to be the same size, and I'm real happy with how it turned out. I did have to use elastic closure on mine. I made a second one, and I'm letting it sit with the elastic on it and see how that does once that comes out. It seems to close pretty good. So if you didn't want to use the elastic, but I kind of like that, holding it closed with the elastic. So let me go over it real quick, what I did with the decorating. I did use the banner piece of the music note here. I die cut out some lacy bits from Heartfelt Creations dies, and I will share the link to the particular ones that I used below. as well as the little tags here. I have 2 tags here that I also use the die on, so I will share the link for that die that you can get these from Country Craft Creations. I used the Prima Art Daily Rusty Clips that I got from Country Craft Creations as a design team package. This one says notes. I really love how that looks on there. And then I used black jute button string that's also available from Country Craft Creations. These are Prima flowers. I will share the link to those below that I used. And then I used different vintage buttons that I have in my stash to really decorate it up. And I love how it turned out. So I also added in here, I don't know if you can see it, a little bit of parchment paper that I tore and inked lightly. So just kind of give it a different layered look. So I love how it turned out. Everything is still the same on the inside. I left it plain for now. I'll probably make a little album or something to go inside. But I love how it turned out, and I hope you, if you try it, that it works out well for you too. These are really fun boxes to have, to use for gifts, to store albums in if you want to make them, you know, for a project and decorate them up. So it's going to be a lot of fun to create your own box. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Remember to shop at countrycraftcreations.com for your chipboard, your artisan cardstock, your adhesives, and your paper collection. Again, this is the exclusive, the music box from Country Craft Creations, and all for your flowers and different elements that you might want to use. And, you know, if you have any vintage buttons to add in, those are a lot of fun. If not, Country Craft Creations has buttons, not these little fancy vintage decorative ones, but they do have buttons that you can add to your stash. So anyway, thanks again so much. Please click like, subscribe if you haven't already to my channel, and click the bell so you'll be notified of my next tutorial. So thanks everybody. Bye-bye.